Join me right now is UFC bantamweight contender Cody Stamann. Cody, it's good to see you. I think we just spoke like a couple months back, but hey, man, we're here. You're ready to fight. Let's go.
We're here now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few months in my life. I mean, geez, two canceled fights back to back. Weighing in, the getting yanked on the day of the fight. I mean, literally, I'm getting ready to go to the arena and I get a phone call. I'm not fighting. I mean, so it's been a trip, man. But God willing, Merab and I are gonna duke it out here real soon.
Yeah, you were scheduled to fight him originally, and then you got two different opponents, and then you got the fight canceled, and then now you got the original opponent back. Man, it must have been emotions like up and down roller coaster, if you could describe it.
Yeah, that's a weird experience. You know what I mean? Because you do so much to like get yourself in a place like mentally where you're gonna compete. You know what I mean? It's not like you're gonna play basketball. Like you gotta fight another grown man inside of a cage. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to hurt somebody, and then that day, you know what I mean? I am laser focused. I'm ready to go, and like I didn't know what to do afterwards. I was just so confused. You know what I mean? Like definitely put me on like a weird little roller coaster. But I mean, I just did what I always do. I just got back to work. You know what I mean? I just got back to the gym, just got back to training, and then Merab popped up again. Probably wasn't. I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been training for this guy for too long. You know what I mean? Give me somebody else. Give me somebody else. And then he starts showing up at the gym. He starts showing up at Extreme Couture, and he starts training with, all the guys that I train with, and they're all goating me in. They're like, dude, you gotta fight this guy. Like you should fight this dude. And I'm like, why? And they're like, just you're better than he is. You know what I mean? Not only that, but like we've been training with him. Like we know what he's capable of. Like you should definitely do this. And I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. And that's literally, I mean, that's verbatim what happened. Because I was like, man, I don't even want to do this again. I wasn't responding to him. Oh my God, give me somebody else, you know what I mean? And then, like after, having a conversation with a bunch of people that, kind of grappled with him and kind of got a feel for the guy, they're like, dude, like they swayed me into doing it. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. I mean, I already signed 2 contracts to fight him, why not one more?
So the motivation was somewhat lost to fight Merab, and then your training partners. Man, you got to have good training partners, man. Your training partners got that motivation back for you.
Yeah, for sure. And like, but the motivation is right. Like, it's like, look, one thing I really don't like doing is wrestling. I mean, as surprising as that might sound, like, I mean, a lot of people pin me as a wrestler. I don't actually enjoy training wrestling. Like, it's not like something that I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's go to wrestling practice. You know what I mean? And like, obviously, you get ready for a guy like Merab. There's 2 things you got to do. You got to do some seriously intense, hard cardio, and you got to wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that I had been doing for 4 months. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do any more of these workouts. You know what I mean? I want to do the fun stuff. I want to spar, and I want to kickbox, and I want to do, you know what I mean, the other stuff. Because, I really enjoy that stuff. But, like, put me on a treadmill and tell me I got to run 11 miles an hour for 10 minutes, like, I'm not having fun doing that. Like, I'm not made for that. You know what I mean? But when you're getting ready for a guy that has that kind of gas tank, like, that's the shit you got to do. You got to do the worst workouts the sport's seen. And I've done them all. And at this point, I'm just like, what the hell is Merab going to bring to me that I already put myself through hell, you know what I mean, in preparation for this guy. So, I mean, I've been ready for, a handful of UFC fights, like really had time to prepare and get ready. But I've never had 6 months to get ready for a single dude. So, I'm pretty curious to see, like, what I'm capable of when I have that kind of preparation.
That curiosity, it probably drives you, man, to see how well you can do against another man just locked in a cage, especially that high level of a grappler.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I look at like a lot of the guys in the UFC and I'm like, I could definitely out wrestle most of these guys. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. If I want to go out there, shoot a couple double legs and just stick to a guy and just grind him out, like I know that I'm capable of doing that. You know what I mean? And now I have but I'm also capable of, standing and making the fight look a little better than, it could if I just took the guy down and held him and didn't do anything, And then I got a guy in Merab that's, super wild, but that's like his style. Like, he gets you in the clinch and he doesn't let go. You know what I mean? Like, that's his game, and that's kind of a game that nobody's like stepping up, being like, yeah, I'll fight that guy. I want to fight him. You know, I want to fight Merab. I want to fight a guy that's going to shoot on me 40 times in a fight. Like, nah, it's the same thing with Brian Caraway. Like, you know, Brian Caraway, when I fought him, like, he was the number 7 guy in the UFC, and nobody wanted to fight the guy because they're like, I'm just going to get in a wrestling match 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And, like, me being the dumb kid I was at the time, and I was like, fuck, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Sign me up. I'll do it. And, you know, it's the same scenario. Like, you don't understand. You know, I didn't even know how good my wrestling was until, you know, because I'd never fought anyone at a level like that until, you know, Caraway. And it's like, you know, I'd stop 21 out of 22 takedowns, and I'm like, yeah, I think next time they ask me if I want to fight a wrestler, I think I'm just going to say yeah, because, like, I know that I can do, you know what I mean? I know that I can do that. And, you know, like, when a wrestler can't get a takedown, they start getting desperate. Things start getting ugly in there, you know what I mean? Imagine Conor and Khabib are fighting, and Khabib shoots 8 times and Conor stuffs 8 takedowns. You know what I mean? And you're gonna see some fear. You're gonna see some things come out in that you know you wouldn't see. You know, because, like, when you stop someone's main offensive weapon, they're dumbfounded. They don't know what to do. You know, there's that weird reality check in a fight where you're like, shit, now what? You know what I mean? And I don't see what else he has. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen his stand up. I mean, it's off balance. It's sloppy. It's super telegraphed. I mean, he's pretty athletic. I think he's a pretty fast kid. But, dude, who have I fought that's not? You know what I mean? That's not that. You know, who have I fought that's unathletic and isn't fast and isn't elite? You know, I mean, fight in the top career. I've seen worse.
Do you think the difference in this matchup is that Rob, he only has plan A, but you have plan A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, you know, I'm an underdog in this fight, and that's something that kind of confused me. Obviously, I think that's pretty normal when you have a guy that is managed to, you know, take everyone down and grind them out. You know, like, the betting odds when someone fights Khabib aren't great because, you know, everyone expects Khabib is going to be able to beat Khabib. But, you know, Khabib kind of ducked and dodged a lot of those high level grapplers, and you know, he fought the strikers. And, you know, like, my foundation is wrestling. You know, so when you have a guy that's a wrestler and you have a guy that's a striker and a wrestler, I mean, I have more options than he does. You know, and, like, in a fight, options are great things to have. You know what I mean? Like, if I decide I need a takedown, I can get a takedown. If I decide I don't want to go anywhere near somebody, I can move and I can, you know what I mean? I'm athletic enough that I can get out of the way. So, I mean, stylistically, I liked the matchup. I liked it in December. I liked it in March. And I like it a lot more in May because the preparation, you know, getting ready for someone that has the gas tank, like I said, that takes a lot of time. And had we fought in December, you know, I think he would have had an edge in that area, you know, just that I didn't have enough time to get myself to that level. But I've had ample time, you know what I mean? I've done three fight camps back to back to back, and now I'm ready, you know what I mean? Now there's not anything that he can do that he can throw at me that I haven't already prepared for, you know? I mean, anything can happen in a fight, but I'm well prepared.
Now, going back to you and your teammates and Merab training with them, has he done his camp there in Vegas? Have you seen him around?
Oh, yeah. I see him all the time. I see him at the PI. I saw him, like, yesterday at the PI. I saw him. He showed up a couple sparring days. Like, I'm, like, geared up, getting ready to, like, you know what I mean? I got someone filming my sparring. I got my partners lined up, and I'm literally just about to go in the cage, and he just walks in the gym. And I'm like, guys, like, I'm in the cage, and I'm in an elevated platform. Like, are you really going to let my opponent that I'm fighting in 3 weeks watch me spar? You know what I mean? Like, and they ended up telling him that he had to leave, you know. But I mean, that's kind of the way it is, you know. Like, Vegas is a weird spot. It's just like such a weird collaboration of different teams, different people from all over the place. Guys are always stopping in, And, you know, there could be like 4 guys in one weight class in the UFC at one practice, and you kind of know just to kind of avoid each other. But, you know, like when your opponent walks in the gym that you're training at, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, and I just don't think Merab kind of thinks anything of it. I just think he's kind of a screwy little dude. He's just doing his thing, you know. I mean, you see that in his fights. I mean, the guy's different.
Yeah, he's definitely different. He's a unique character, and yeah, it is kind of an odd situation.
I like him. I mean, I
Yeah.
think he's a nice guy. I think he's a really nice guy. I can't say anything bad about him personally, but yeah, I mean, there's just he's a funny little dude.
The pandemic circumstances in Vegas, it is a weird thing. Me talking to fighters that were originally in Vegas and talking to fighters that actually transplanted over to Vegas to train so they could be ready for any call. Man, it has just created this like bottleneck of just fighters from all over the world just, you know, seeing each other all the time, and you could fight each other at any moment, and you could be watching one guy last week fighting somebody the next week, right? It's just your opponent, which is probably not the best environment for everybody, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I've thrived, you know what I mean, since all these guys have moved here, because you get, I mean, there's no shortage of, you know, high level guys to go with all the time, you know what I mean? And I don't really give a shit, you know what I mean? If my opponent shows up, you know, it doesn't like do anything to me, you know. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is he doing here? But at the same time, I'm like, I gotta get my work, and I've never seen so many talented people in one room. I mean, like every single practice I'm at, it's like, oh, that's the, you know what I mean? That guy's top 10 in the world. That guy's this, you know what I mean? There's like 16 UFC fighters in this practice. You know, I think there was one practice at Extreme Couture, like a Monday practice, where there were like 25 guys in the UFC at this practice. There were like 75 dudes on the mats. And then it was like 25 UFC fighters, like 15 high-ranked Bellator fighters, and then a bunch of guys in the PFL. And like, if you were an MMA fan and you walked in and you just saw this, like, you know, this huge collaboration of like all these athletes, you'd be looking around like, dude, that guy's a UFC champ. That guy's, you know what I mean? It was crazy. Like it didn't seem real. You know what I mean? It seemed like you like showed up at like a MMA MVP event and like everybody was there, but really everybody was like training together. It was it's insane. Like it really is insane. And then like the PI too, you know, the PI is kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's called the Artemis Hotel. It's where like all these hitmen go to this hotel and they all hang out, and like they're not allowed to do anything. Like they can't, you know. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like the PI. It's such a crazy thing because there's a bunch of, like, there'll be 10 guys in your weight class at the PI at one time. You know what I mean? You walk past these guys, you see them in the locker room, you're getting PT next to them, you're doing strength conditioning next to them, and everybody's just cool. Like no one says anything. You know what I mean? There's never like, sometimes there's some banter and there's, you know, some people messing around, but like it's like this weird thing. Like you would never, like if you were a fan, you wouldn't understand how it worked. You know what I mean? You wouldn't understand how like all these guys that could potentially, you know what I mean, be fighting for their life against each other, like could just be like sitting down watching TV together. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Definitely, man. It's a crazy environment, and like you said, you strived in it, and I'm excited to see like that development of going through everything, all the emotional, you know, obstacles and physical obstacles, of course. You know what I mean? It's not like camp is just smooth and you're 100% all the time. So coming off that last fight, you know what I mean, against Jimmy Rivera, what type of performance are you expecting against Merab? Are you looking at that finish? Is that something that you do plan on, like, this is gonna be 15 minutes of hell?
I mean, you know, it could either be 15 minutes or hell, or I could hit him with something nasty. You know, I know I have the capabilities to knock guys out. Like, it's eluded me somehow in the UFC, but, you know, before the UFC, I knocked a lot of guys out. In boxing, I knocked a lot of guys out. And in my amateur career, I had 20 amateur fights. I knocked out most everyone. So it's something that's eluded me. And it's like, like I had to catch up. You know what I mean? Like, I got moved up so fast. You know what I mean? Like, I was in the top 10 in like 5 months after I signed with the UFC. So it's like I went from fighting, you know what I mean, like Joe Schmo in the Midwest to fighting, you know, some guy from France who's the, you know, #1 prospect in the world. Like, it happened so fast for me, and I needed time to level up. You know what I mean? And I've had that time, and I've had the actual in-cage experience against, you know, the highest level guys in the world. And, you know, talking about the Jimmy Rivera fight, you know, that's a fight that I look back and I can't even watch it. Like, I can't even, you know, like, just mentally, physically, like, I was not prepared. You know what I mean? Like, I jumped on a plane on 5 days notice, flew to Abu Dhabi, and like literally got there, cut weight, and fought, and went home. And I was just like, what just happened? You know what I mean? Everything happened so fast, and it was like, if I could look back and think of, like, there's one big mistake that I've made in my career, that was the mistake. You know what I mean? Like, fighting him, like, Jimmy Rivera's not a guy that you fight on 5 days notice. You know what I mean? Like, he's a tough dude. You know, one of the toughest. He's been around forever. He's fought everybody, you know. And, like, that's like my biggest mistake. And we're talking about, you know, coming off a performance like that, like, I can't even like think of myself ever doing worse than that. You know what I mean? In my entire fighting career. So I got nowhere to go but up. I mean, at this point. And, you know, Merab's a guy that I feel like, you know, he has this, he's kind of like a Song Yadong or like a Tom Duquesnoy. He has all this hype around him. Like, everyone's really excited, you know what I mean, to see him fight. And, like, but he hasn't competed against the same level of opponents that I have. You know what I mean? He hasn't been in the top 15 for long. He hasn't fought. I mean, his toughest fight to date is John Dodson, and John Dodson is, you know, 7-8 years past his prime and fighting a weight class up. You know, I mean, he's just kind of like hanging on by his shoestrings. He has been for a while. And I mean, Dodson was great in his time, but, you know, like, he's not a young man anymore. Like, and that's like, if you're talking about me and John Dodson, like, I don't really see us on the same playing field.
One thing about the UFC is that we get surprised all the time. You know, sometimes you get the moments where, like, a guy gets a knockout, but they're not, like, known in the UFC to get knockouts, and everybody's like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? And then you research back and you see the guy was knocking out guys before you went to the UFC. He just didn't find his rhythm. Most likely gonna find your rhythm, man. May 1st.
Yeah. I mean, all signs point to, you know, me getting that monkey off my back. I mean, I couldn't think of a guy, you know what I mean, like, on his feet that I fought that, you know, that makes the mistakes that he does in the UFC. You know what I mean? Like, they're, you know, especially at bantamweight, man, everybody is so good. Everyone's so good. Everyone's so sharp. Everyone's so, you know what I mean? Everyone's defense is so good. Their footwork's so good. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of holes if you, like, go, you know, 1 to 25. There's not, like, an obvious, like, yeah, I just take that guy down, I win. Or, you know what I mean? Like, or I just got to stay away from this dude and I can win. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's good at everything. And, you know, I maybe found a niche in the system. Like, I found the guy that, like, hey, this guy's good at wrestling, but there's a big but there. But there's a lot of ways to beat him. You know what I mean? And one of them is just having the time to prepare. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to get that time.
Yeah, man. Positive energy. You know, you go in there fully prepared. It's going to be an insane fight, man. I'm glad you're getting this opportunity. Always good chatting with you, Cody, and good luck, man. All the best for the rest of the year, too.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to putting on a show. He's in for a tough night, May 1st.